With the return of Conor Timmins inching closer and closer, the Leafs have a huge decision to make regarding their roster spots, and rumors are circulating that a trade could be coming. So we're going to break that down in this episode of Leafs Digest, as well as Benoit. He continues to shine and prove that he belongs with this Maple Leafs team. So stay tuned for what's coming up next. Before we do get into that, a quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. We notice about 80% of you guys who are watching right now are not subscribed, so scroll down, click the subscribe button if you aren't subscribed already. We're posting 1 to 2 Leafs videos every single day along with game reactions, so you're not going to want to miss it, especially as rumors continue to amp up and we're on the road to 5,000. Thank you guys for your continued support and your continued interaction as well. All right, let's get right into the first chapter of today, which is this changes everything for the Leafs. Now, I saw this tweet, and it kind of blew up on Leafs Twitter, and this is very, very interesting. Now, we're all excited for Conor Timmins to return, especially if he returns into the form that he was last season with the Maple Leafs before his preseason injury. And this is super interesting. It's something I wanted to kind of generate a discussion about, as well as rumors, while rumors are circulating regarding a trade. So something is happening with the Leafs this week. This is Leafs Nation News on Twitter. Conor Timmins should be good by Friday, and just sending Benoit down doesn't create the space to activate him. Trade discussions could intensify too. Eyes on the Reeves and Klingberg contracts. Now, we've been discussing John Klingberg specifically in a trade for if you're acquiring Nikita Zadorov and Chris Tanev, and rumors are starting to escalate regarding around that. We'll probably post a video about that later tonight. But when looking at the Klingberg contract, obviously it's $4+ million, and he would be moved in a deal most likely if you're acquiring Tanev and Zadorov. But it's interesting now because Conor Timmins should be back for their next game on, I believe, Friday, November 24th. And just sending down Benoit, and Benoit has been very, very good for the Leafs, which we'll discuss later on in today's video. But you're looking at now, the Leafs need to make a couple of very hard and tough decisions regarding their roster spots, because sending Benoit down on his own would not be enough for Timmins. And I wouldn't want to send Benoit down either way with the way that he has been continuing to play and shine, really, for the Maple Leafs, considering what was expected of him coming in. The question now becomes, will a trade happen? Ryan Reeves has been healthy scratch a couple games in a row, and the fourth line has been absolutely night and day when Ryan Reeves is out of it. It's been so much better. We've saw all the guys, even the third and fourth line. Nick Robertson has continued to do very, very well. You have David Kampf. All these guys are really performing well, especially now that Ryan Reeves is out. Do you want to maybe think about not necessarily trading Ryan Reeves or trading John Klingberg, although I do think a John Klingberg trade is inevitable? They need to create space for Conor Timmins, and I think this is why the Leafs have such a big decision to make. I want to see you in the comment section below. Let me know what you think the best course of action would be. I think a trade is likely. However, I also want to take the other side of it here, and if you look at this from a response, someone says you're right, but then someone else said Leafs can activate Timmins by waiving two of Benoit, Lagesson, and McMahon. They don't have the deal to make room. Lots of options that a trade being made. Now, if you're looking at this, I would not want to waive either of Benoit or Lagesson or McMahon. So this is why I think that the only logical way would probably be some sort of trade, some sort of move. But again, this is why I want to see your comments down below, what you think the most logical outcome is. And then they responded to this saying if they would like to go back to the dressing the worst forward in the league and having an unplayable line, then sure. So that's kind of why it's an interesting spot for the Maple Leafs, because if you waive Lagesson, Benoit, guys who didn't have an impact coming into the season but have now shown to be pretty serviceable players, you're kind of going back to what you were at the start of the season, whereas now the team is rolling. They've won 4 in a row. They won back-to-back in Stockholm and Sweden. Maybe you want to keep going with what's working, which is having Reeves not playing. Klingberg hasn't played. Now, whether you think that John Klingberg sitting out and Reeves sitting out is the reason the Leafs are winning is up to you. Maybe you think it's a different reason, but you can argue with the fact that Benoit has been producing well, and you need to make room for Conor Timmins. And not only that, you have trades coming in. They're going to bring in more guys. So roster crunch is very, very real right now, and it's not a conversation I thought we'd be having this early in the season, but with Timmins on the way back, and Timmins is a guy who has a tremendous ceiling as a blue liner for the Leafs going forward. He's not he's not old. He's a young player. He has lots of room to grow for the Maple Leafs. A bit of a prospect. This is huge for the Leafs if he can come back. And it's interesting that they have to create space for him, and just sending down Benoit will not be the solution, because especially with how good Benoit has been playing. Now, another interesting thing here, and this was tweeted out, this is regarding around Elliot Freeman's report around John Klingberg, and he said in the 32 Thoughts podcast, and he mentioned that we may find out about John Klingberg's future this week. Now, this kind of leads into the video we might have later tonight about a Zadorov and Chris Tanev update. There's a huge update regarding that. But the thing is, if Klingberg's future Does this mean that a trade could be brewing this week? They are officially back from Sweden now, so this is where, Nylander talks might be heating up, trade talks might be heating up, things of that nature. In this case, John Klingberg's future talks are heating up. Does this mean that they're looking to trade him, like, some people are speculating, to make room for Conor Timmins? Obviously, you're not going to trade Klingberg with the sole purpose of making room for Conor Timmins. That's ridiculous. It would be more so for the Nikita Zadorov, Chris Tanev salary matching. Or does this mean that his injury will be placed in long-term IR? I think that might be more likely, because they're not going to keep riding him out as a guy who is hurt, not hurt enough for the long-term IR, not getting traded, and just kind of taking up a roster spot there. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see, and the Klingberg stuff keeps getting more interesting and more interesting. I made a video on it, and I don't know if they trade Klingberg. Maybe if they can get both Tanev and Zadorov, they trade Klingberg. But again, Klingberg has been such a mystery so far this season, and I don't think trading Klingberg is super likely unless you get both of Nikita Zadorov and Chris Tanev. That'll wrap up that topic. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this. Do you think that you see another way out for the Maple Leafs besides potential trade discussions to make room for Conor Timmins? It's something that not a lot of people are discussing in Leafs Nation because we haven't really thought about it that far, and it's not something we had to think about a ton. So let me know what your thoughts are on that, as well as what do you think this means regarding John Klingberg? Do you think it's a trade coming? Do you think it's a long-term IR? Or do you think it is something else? All right, let's move on now to the next topic, which kind of relates to this in a way here, and it's Benoit continues to impress. Now, I made a video on this a few days ago, or a section about him, and in his last game, where, of course, Nylander had that overtime goal, Benoit continued with the advanced metrics to play very, very well, and this kind of leads into the fact that I don't even want to see Benoit necessarily get sent down to the AHL, to the Marlies, wherever he's going to go, because of how good he's been. So this is on November 18th, before the last game in Sweden. He said through 4 games, his XGF percentage is 75. The Leafs are up 2-0 in his minutes. And then last game, he had a team-high 62.6 expected GF percentage for Benoit today. So he's a guy who continues to do very, very well. And again, he's seen moderate levels of success throughout his career. He's 25 years old. He has room to grow with the team. With the Marlies, he's only played 2 games, but I don't want to see him get sent back to the Marlies. Obviously, he hasn't scored many points, but his defensive impact has been big, like it was for the Ducks in 2022 and 2021, where he was, their top 4. He was one of the top 4 blue liners for the Ducks, and obviously the Ducks back then had one of the worst defenses in the league, so you can't take too much account into that. But with the Toronto Maple Leafs, if he's in the bottom half of the, the blue line, he's in the bottom end, he's doing a very, very serviceable job, and I just wanted to point out how good he has been defensively, especially in the absence of Timothy Liljegren, Conor Timmins, John Klingberg, and then obviously we're sitting out Ryan Reeves and things like that. But I just wanted to point out the importance of Benoit, and again, it leads into this. It's such an interesting talk to have, because you can make an argument that Benoit so far has been extremely valuable, and obviously Conor Timmins is going to be given the opportunity to perform very, very well, and I would not be surprised if he has a phenomenal season going forward. It's great to see him healthy again, but when you're looking at these roster crunches and you're looking at these trade decisions, it just gets weirder and harder because of how well these guys have stepped up. Lagesson's played good as well. So I don't know. Benoit's been dominant on the defensive end. Now, when I say dominant, I don't mean he's been a star or anything like that. He's not a star-studded player, but he's doing the little things, and the advanced metrics back that up. Let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are on Benoit, as well as the rest of everything we discussed today. I'm very curious to see what you all think. Do you think a trade is nearing? Regardless, what we do know is the Leafs have a huge decision to make, and they have to do it soon. Thank you guys for watching. See you tomorrow or later today for a video.